Ulonga tabati yada tó yẹ kó máa da ifá. Inú tó yẹ kó jẹun lọ fi bí pa. Ọbàtálá, ọba takuntakun. Ṣàngó, Èṣù, Ògún, Ọya, Ọ̀ṣun. Ìwọ ló ń bọ̀ nílé. Kí ni ṣẹ̀ṣe tán ṣe nílé yìí o? Ó jẹ́ lọ jára rẹ̀.
Hola, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Bami, and we are joined once again by none other than our distinguished community elder, Oloye Baba Ifa Kerade. Lafia, Baba, how you doing today?
Lafia. Dada Ni, I'm doing well, my brother. Thank you for asking. Okay, we're here and we're giving the blessings. And to all of the good people out there, a resounding Ed Kabul, welcome.
I see you. That's what's up, man. So, as usual, sound like you the mood is good, the energy is high, and we're ready to get in this thing and make it do what it do, Baba. So with that, before we dive all the way in, though, I want to give a shout out to, we got several new members who joined the VIP membership. So shout out to y'all. We definitely got a lot more coming for y'all. I'm sure they probably saw that first video that we done, the first training session that we did already, but also to the new members to the regular community as well, the Ashe Tribe community. We appreciate y'all. Everybody who was showing love in the comments over the weekend, the past few days, appreciate y'all. I haven't been able to respond like I want to because I've been working outside of the house and outside, my normal routine. So I definitely have a lot more work to catch up on in regards to, responding back to the love and support, and also to highlight and showing extra love and support to those who have went the extra, distance to show us love and support. So we appreciate all of y'all family for sure. And so with that, bye-bye. Ready to get into it?
The bus got to catch up with me, man.
Yes, sir. I already know.
I say, come on.
I already know.
I'm ready.
Yes, sir. Let's get it. So today's topic, I always, it sparks my interest. It always gets my spidey senses rolling to try to figure out what kind of inspired the topics that you be coming up with, Baba, that be kind of, penetrating your ori that you always have, the food for thought that you like to serve up and deliver to the community. So for today's topic, what was the inspiration behind this one?
Behind our worship and rituals and reverence.
Yes, sir.
Well, I just feel as though it's a great time to discuss it. We've hit so many areas. We've talked deeply about Orisha, Ori. We've talked deeply about Orunmila. We've explored the divinatory implements of Ifa, Dafa. We've taken this journey, this Iwakiri, if you will, this spiritual journey, to the point where people are leaning in, okay? And it's dawning, this level of consciousness, what we call Iwori, okay? This spiritual transformation is happening. And I say, you know what? As whispers in the wind resound, now is the time to really put a finger on the pulse of what people are not just doing in terms of Ishe ritual, Ishe, the continuation of ritual, the work of ritual, not just what people are doing in terms of their offerings to the Orisha. We have Ebo Eje. We have appeasement offerings. We have Adimu, which are offerings of food, fruit. We have our prayers, all of this encompassing factors of faith. So what's the next step? The next step is to not so much question what we believe in, but to discuss it, okay? Because it's evidently clear in every religious, quote unquote, setting that there are tiers or levels of those who participate in ritual and worship. Orisha ni masin, it is Orisha I will worship. And in terms of reverence, let me not forget Iba She, Okay, the reverencing of ancestors, the reverencing of self to revere. But the question up for discussion still remains: what do we really believe in? Okay, and that, Baba Orisha Bemi, what you say, that is what brought about this brainstorm of discussing, not debating, because they're very complex statements, thought for food. Okay, how are these thoughts nourishing our people, if they are at all? What do we think about believing in Ifa Isheshe? What do we think about in terms of worship? And what are we thinking about in terms of reverencing? Now, I'm just going to offer my perspective. I won't even say teachings, to tell you the truth. I won't even say teachings. There are those who'll take it as teachings. And of course, I appreciate that. But it's not a pass fail kind of situation. It's not anything that's going to be tested by me or some paternal or authoritative organization. We're going to go around in the tone and like of an inquisition and make sure that you are doing what we say do the way we say do it. That to me, my people, would be counterproductive and somewhat hypocritical of Ifa Ish. But again, that's my opinion. Okay. But I can't dismiss the impact of authority and the impact of control that belief systems, you know, called religions, called beliefs, called forms of worship, even spirituality, and what it is that we reverence and why, that we give reverence to and why. What is it? Let me rephrase that. What is it that we revere and what is it that we give reverence to? Now, those factors and elements I must speak on because of the disruption via the Ma'afa, because of the current state of the world in terms of the delusional mind frame of, well, I'm just going to call it what it is, white supremacy. Um, and I always, you know, for statement that with delusional. Okay. However, because it has become authoritative, basically by militaristic conquest and conquering, and because it has, along with its conquering, continued a Greco-Roman kind of push via Constantine's interpretation, or dare I say misinterpretation, of Christianity, that there comes about these compartmentalizations of how do we get to that point via indoctrination, and how do we even defend that point regardless of the crushing blows that it reaps upon, that it destructs upon, the destruction destructs of our growing awareness of our pre-invasion existence. And why is it that so many of us, and I'm speaking specifically now of the African in America or in the Americas or in the diaspora, because we're in Europe and we're in Asia. Okay. How is it that our connect, okay, is not being reconnected with when we now have the opportunity to do so? And please, good people, step lightly with me because I'm attempting to leave no footprints. Again, it's the wind that's whispering to me. All the answers won't be coming forth in 1 hour or two, but let's really think about it. I implore you, We're obviously we're in a time bubble, okay, that's inside of a container that has been steadily compressing us into what it is that we actually believe in, how we go about expressing that belief, what happens when we don't express it in terms of our ancestral ways being outlawed, reduced to mere nativism, aboriginalisms, and all lacking the basic constructs of higher mind, higher thinking, and deep spiritual and connectiveness to the essence of life and the essence of existence. Now, at this point, if there are any questions or comments, I'm open.
I should. Yeah, not yet. I don't see any yet, but I got a couple as usual. You know me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's right.
yeah, yes, sir. Shout out to the tribe that's joining us. Shout out to Queen Liquid Waters. Shout out to Brother John Madison. Shout out to Pacific Dagwood. Shout out to the Cariday Nation in the building. But excuse me, Baba, I do have a few questions in
Yeah,
regards to the power, right? The power of belief, worship, ritual, and reverence.
yes,
So yesterday, very powerful meeting yesterday. I think you and I haven't got a chance to speak about it in regards to the experience that I had, but very, very powerful transmission in regards to energy. It was an amazing, I would say, training session that I had with Baba Astarius Miraculi, who was on the podcast maybe like a week or two ago, but Master Healer. And we had a session doing energy work. And the first time that I saw him, I think this is a total of 4 times I've actually worked with him in person, but each time was almost like a supernatural experience. So the first time we had a session, there was actually like, I feel like a form of paranormal activity that took place during that session with energy, right? Making itself present and known. So yesterday, another situation like that, we're doing I believe it's called eye gazing. So we're doing an eye gazing session where you look directly in a person's eyes that's sitting across from you. And then, you do certain exercises with your eyes, but all the while trying to maintain focus. In this particular part of the session, Baba, I saw items materialize within his face. And it was surreal because one of them was a pyramid that came like right above or in the middle of the bridge of his eyes. From there, I saw an image of the Sphinx materialize, right? So I'm like, yo, this is nuts. And for the tribe and the family members who have seen the movie The Matrix, the best way for me to describe this situation is when the agents grabbed Neo and they took him and put him in the back of the car at the very beginning of the movie. And they took the bug, like the chip that they chipped him with, and they put like this, it was like a robotic insect into his belly button, and it like pierced into his body and it shot through around, going through his body to track him and do all kind of stuff to him. But in the movie, you could see the robotic bug moving under his skin. So my experience yesterday was I saw something similar to that, but it was in the form of comedic pyramidal structures as well as the Sphinx. So I'll be damned if after we finish, I stand up and he had a picture on his shrine that looked exactly like the image that I saw. And I had never seen that picture because the angle that I was sitting at, I couldn't see it from the angle that I was sitting at when we were working. But then when I was getting ready to leave, I stood up and I saw, I'm like, yo, it was nuts. I'm going to share that picture because I'm actually buy it and share it on the channel. But I say all that to say about the power of belief. I've been believing in spirituality, African spirituality, melanated spirituality for as far back as I can remember. And I always remembered as a child, like the pyramids, I was always drawn to them. And I recall like always wanting to go, always studying, all that. But my question to you is there a subconscious knowingness and belief that we know something is real and that it's real to us because we have some sort of deeper or higher inner like connectedness to it? Or do you feel like when we come into the world, there's certain ideologies or certain principles that may be impressed upon us that we kind of take that on and then develop the power of the belief in it after the fact. So do you believe it's something that's kind of like already pre-programmed within us, or do you feel like it's something that after being exposed to a certain form, form of information or visualization, that we then kind of can take that and then build and develop the power of the belief in the worship after the fact?
Well, my answer to that is, and I'll add some substantiation to it, is both. It's not an either or, it's a both. Okay? Uh, on one end, there's the genetic propensity. Okay, there are studies out that kind of state that when we are born, we're born tabula rasa. We're born with a blank state. Okay, and everything that we experience is somehow carved into that blank state, and we become what the handwriting on the wall is, so to speak. Okay, there are studies more intense and later that state that such is not the case, that we are born with certain awarenesses, that we are born with certain capacities to perceive, and we are born with a continuation of elements of consciousness via our bloodline, via our genetic. And I would have to lean more towards we are born with certain awarenesses, just like people can talk about the trauma that's transgenerational. Well, there's also the not trauma, if you will. Okay, the dreams that a person may have, the quote unquote deja vu experiences that a person may have, the coming to understand via the spiritual practices that awaken dormant genes, dormant levels of consciousness are all a part of my experience. So I can directly relate to you. And I truly feel as though many, if not most, who involve themselves in forms of spirituality, Eastern spirituality on the one hand, and then their Western spirituality, pre-Christian religions, practices, journeys that continue to exist unto this day as well. So, as a part of the human experience, and it might even go so far as the higher mammals in terms of brain size and capacity, there is the overwhelming abundance of evidence, both empirical and anecdotal. People will sit and tell you, like you just sat and said, others can add to the chapter of the dawning of awareness, the spiritual transformation, the Iwari that we go through. And it is of no surprise that Iwari is the name of one of the major Odus within Ifa. Agbe Oyeku Iwari Ed, the top four. Okay? So that said, now combined, not on the other hand, but combined within our hands is what we've learned, what we've come to know as spiritual practices. Now, whether spiritual practices are definitively connected to worship and ritual, that could be a matter of how we shade it. There are more people who are inclined to worship. These types of individuals will probably be more at the Ojúbọ, not only taking care of their shrines, but offering sincere prayer, invoking in all of this positive definitions of the term, the Orisha, to come in and be a part of life, a part of their life. And at some point, the Orisha within awakens. So all of the exoteric, all of the outer worship not only has a spiraling up action, but it also has a spiraling in action. And our ancestors realized this. They knew this. You may continually worship, be you at the Ojubo, be you at your shrine, be you at the natural, the nature of the respective Orisha, wherever you open yourself up to give, to worship. There's a double spiraling effect that many, I dare say, never get to realize because it's never part of the discussion. It's always give to the higher, 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 very external. And all of this is in part due to Western interpretation of the relationship between human beings and God forces. Okay? It's very external. And we're indoctrinated with this from birth in this society under this regime, okay, under this authority as it exercises itself through how do the priests determine what happens to the people is evident. And how do people who now have a position, but their religious doctrine and indoctrination now becomes a part of their politics, prayer in school, church in school, and they're doing it because they have the power to do it, regardless of whether it works or not, regardless of whether there are different cultures who have different insights, like what we're saying. Well, then, if you can teach Christianity in school, then why can't we teach Ifa in school? Why can't we have Orisha in school? If you can have Christian oriented celebrations, which are rituals every year around this time, Christmas, they're already starting the commercials. Everybody's getting geared up. The continuation, that's a ritual. And it's designed to have
Drain pockets.
well, on the spiritual, but it's still, for many, a very external thing.
Mm-hmm.
That spiraling inward is not, again, a part of the discussion. But when we get into Ifa Isheshe and under programs like Ashe, African Spirituality Experience, then we have to discuss the spirituality experience. And that is, all indications are, both by my epiphanies and revelations, and with the type of information that those epiphanies and revelations lead to, state emphatically that being involved with Orisha as a worship is a worship of the inner Orisha of self. That's not new. That's ancient. That's what has been taken away from us when we were dehumanized, despiritualized, de-worshipped, as we would see the Orisha in one another, deculturalized. We have to understand what happened since the mid 1400s up until right now, in terms of the not only being reduced as human beings, but also being reduced as spiritual beings. Like I came across a piece, Miri Baraka, Ibaye, whom I did know when I was working at the Chad School in Newark with the Council of Independent Black Institutions. Miri Baraka, Dr. Ben Jokanan, these were people who were coming by Newark, Newark. Newark was a major hub in Jersey. People coming by. But I caught an old clip, and he was discussing the African drum, and how in this country specifically, the drums were outlawed because it became evident, to the domestic terrorists that we were communicating. And it's like every time them drums sound, this was something pop off.
Every time.
So
do it.
Yeah, we got to take those drums away. But what dawned on me as I was listening to him, yet again, is that they not only stopped us from drumming, they stopped the drummers from drumming. You know, and they stopped that continual spiritual development of drummers, and they stopped the deepness of young men and women who became drummers, who walked amongst the people, radiating spirit, radiating the inner essence, and not just, you know, again, being reduced to, you know, well, we just half naked running around beating on drums. Yeah, there were groups of people who did that, but there were other groups of people who were dressed like we dress right now.
Right.
You understand? And who didn't, you know, live in huts and all that kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but what I'm
Right.
saying is we're only shown what they want us to see. And when they take away the power of those who've experienced greater than, like from the courts, the Shango drummers playing the bata drums, dressed in royal garb, sitting in splendor as rulers of empires. We don't see that. And we haven't seen it since conception. So even when we do see it, and this is where I'm getting to, even when we do see it, my people, my question is, do we believe it? Do we believe it? We can go to the museums and see the royal grace and splendor of our ancestors and come right back and have a, just call it like like I see it, okay? A derogatory look upon our ancestral bearing. And then the question becomes, you know, I'm just moving on from your question, Baba Orisha Bami. You know, hopefully I answered it.
Yeah, you
You know,
did. Yes, sir.
you can have both. But the question now is, excuse me, the statement now is, we can revere our ancestors and not believe in them. We can revere them
That's deep, Baba.
and,
Can you
not be in the practice. For example, especially around this time. Now,
mm,
mind you, I've been around for a minute.
mm,
I've seen some
mm.
things in my days.
Oh boy. Think you about to start getting dangerous.
You know, as a percussionist, you know, I didn't have any problem if I get called to perform and it's in a church. And I got big churches in Newark now, okay, and little churches down in, you know, South Jersey, wherever, you know. But I'm doing it. I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I have no fear of Christianity. I have no fear of the Abrahamics. Okay, I'm okay in my spot. So I'm not all hyped up behind it. And again, there's a love connection there, you know, mother, grandmother, you know, cousins, aunties, everybody. Okay. Everybody going to church. So what I believed in had nothing to do with the bonding that I was forming with. Okay. So it didn't really matter if I believed in this God or this book that was being read from. And I'm still, you know, people been pastors for 40 years and they still reading from the same book. I find that amazing, but it is what it is. I have nothing to do with that. Okay. But then I said, let me flip the script. Okay. Because if I can love my people and it has nothing to do with believing what they believe in, can there be individuals in Ifa Isheshe or not in Ifa Isheshe who have this ancestral kind of, you know, my ancestors coming up through the 60s, and we're fighting for Black history in colleges, especially state funded colleges like Rutgers, which I was one of the first Blacks to be, you know, in, you know, because of the movement at the time. It was like, okay, we got the history going. We're talking about our ancestors. We're trying to be ancestrally connected. But in every instance that I talked about, going to perform in these churches, being in the colleges, you know, breaking through historically, the people were still believing in Christian doctrine. Okay. The history of our people didn't change the belief, nor as a result, you know, the practice. You still go to church, you still sing the same song, da 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 da. It's all right. And you can say, oh, that's African because of the beats and all that. Yeah, but my question is, what do you believe in? Okay. Now you're revering, but you're not believing. See? So now I could say, I go to these churches and perform not jazz nights or whatever. You got to remember, churches even back in the day would bring in even people like James Brown. And there's even a church close to here, in the North vicinity, that has a little cafe on the side. And our band would go and we're playing Lionel Richie, and everything. And it's a little cafe setting. But that's nothing new when we really study our people. However, the focus is on what do we believe in. So we have the churches who have the Kwanzaa programs, and all they're only bringing the musicians, and we're not going to sing gospels, you know what I mean? We're singing black songs, quote unquote. But it's a reverence. Folks will get up and talk about ancestors. Some people will read their genealogies, but it doesn't change what their religious beliefs are. And this is where it gets deep, because now you may have belief in the power of your bloodline, regardless of what the names are, but you won't have belief in the African. You won't, you know. We have a tendency to struggle with the belief system that we were forced to submit. The belief system that we were forced to submit. Okay. And now that we don't have to, we're still psychologically chained. We are. And it's reinforced. So again, it's not like we're chaining ourselves, but we're not understanding because we're not discussing, we're not accumulating knowledge on a mass scale. Of course, there are people who are studying the psychological ramifications, okay, of a forced indoctrinating of a people from another culture. Okay,
That's it.
you see? So the constant reinforcement, for example, I can look up a Yoruba term for worship. I can Google it. And of course I do. I try to keep up. Okay. And I try to understand the breakdown of the terminology. Like Agbe, okay? The spirit that saves. Oyeku, the spirit that defeats death. Oyeku. So we start to understand through our study of the language how our ancestors constructed what we know as Yoruba. But deep discussion for a class setting in terms of how many syllables and vowels there are in the Yoruba language. Okay. Okay. How many odus are there? Well, that's times two. Okay. And then the four majors. You see? So the language equates. And as I've shared with you and other uh, students, disciples, okay, our woes, better for but our woes, that each Odu is a symbolic vibration. However, when we start to look at what we believe in and what we've been indoctrinated to believe and how that indoctrination is reinforced, we have to start looking at imprinting. When that bird comes out of the shell and they say, well, the first thing it looks like at that becomes its mother. Okay. Well, the first religion that we're introduced to is imprinted upon us. And some of us struggle with it. I struggle with it. When they tried to baptize me, I refused. Not because I hated my mother, not because I hated the church that was in, but there was something inside of me, going back to your original statement, that just wouldn't allow me to do it. They couldn't force me to do it. And I wound up asking them, I said, if you have to force somebody to be baptized, is that really a spiritual cleansing? Is that really a spiritual statement? I was 9 years old, if that.
Yeah.
You understand? So there is something inside of perhaps everyone that's tuning into this channel that says, I don't hate my mother. I don't hate the good people of the church. I don't hate those who show reverence toward their ancestors, but still got this Eurocentric, kind of thing happening that's driving me crazy. I don't dislike them. They're my people. I sometimes question why they hate me. You know what I mean? But then I start to understand that the indoctrination requires them to hate anything that's not reinforcing authoritarian system of oppression.
Yes, sir. That's facts.
Okay. And it's not so much that they're hating me as much as they need to fulfill what they have accepted as their commitment to the faith. We got to make everybody Christian. We got to make everybody Muslim. We got to make everybody Jewish. We got to make everybody what we want to make them, instead of embracing the spirit within, so that the spirit within can be embraced.
Yeah. No, that's real. And another thing too, Bubba, I feel like it's like what you're in regards to what you're speaking about with our people and our families, right? I feel like one of the biggest things is, people fear change. That's a major hurdle, or wall to break through is change. And so when you have, someone like yourself or all of our Ashe tribe or anybody who's into the occult and the, African traditional spiritual sciences and systems, it's foreign to those of us who were, raised in the diaspora. It's foreign to those of us who were raised, as captives of the Ma'afa. It's foreign to us, those of us who our ancestors were, on the plantations and part of the transatlantic slave trade. So it's like, it's very foreign for us to not know who and what we are by strategic design of the captors who, created the system that, it was instilled for the Mafia that's still in place right now for most of the globe. So it's like most of the people fear what they don't know, and they fear to not want to go because they don't know, right? But you can't know unless you go. And it's like, it's one of them things where I feel like when that internal compass starts to point in the right direction, or when that internal voice of the ancestors, that internal voice of spirit, that internal voice of nature, that internal voice of the Ori, that internal voice of the Orisha starts to speak into the psyche, or into the mind, into the ear, into the spirit of those who are ready, then I think it activates. And for me, I've always been of the school of thought where I always share consciousness like an alarm clock. Everybody's alarm clock is set to go off at a different time. So some people's alarm clock goes off when they're born. Some people's alarm clock goes off like you and I think you was not the youngest 9 years old. I was 6, 7 years old when I knew it didn't feel right for me. So it's like everybody's set for their clock to go off at a different time. And I think what we're seeing now is there's a lot of clocks going off and awakening. You know what I mean? It's like I see the migration from the systematic, Christianity, the traditional, Abrahamic Western cultural spiritual practices. I see the transition of that mass movement of people who are walking away from the churches and then just trying to figure it out because, okay, this doesn't feel right for me, but I don't know about all that. I don't know about Voodoo. I don't know about Ifa. I don't know about Orisha. I don't know about all that stuff. I don't even know about divining and divination. Don't know that I want to know about it. However, I know I don't rock with this anymore. It's not filling me. It's not fulfilling to me. And therefore, I think that's where the blessing of this whole thing that's come together now with Ashe and all the moving parts that's been a part of Ashe, I feel like that's where we're in a position to really make a monumental shift, because now people can see and learn and hear about it without actually having to commit to it, but they can still get a sense of being poured into and getting real, raw, uncut, behind the scenes insight from someone who's decorated with well over 4 decades of research, of teaching, of studying, of learning, of sharing, at its highest level. And coupled with several other elders who, who I see in the same light as yourself. So it's like now we're able to show people better than we're able to just tell people. And I think that's where we have the opportunity to really make a big splash with waking up more of our people in the masses.
Yeah, that's a profound insight. Okay. And it is in one of the chambers of the heart. Okay, at the 4 chambers. Okay, it's in the chambers of the heart. Now, I would just like to add, because you laid it down so nicely. All right, that fear of the unknown. We have to look at why it's unknown. Okay, and in addition, okay, It's also the fear of punishment. Okay.
Mm.
There's been countless generations who have tried to revolt spiritually because of that, insight that you so wisely stated. But every time we step out, because for many, it may have been unknown, but they knew it. Okay. I don't know what it really is like. Okay. But there's enough around me to lend some validity to it. And especially in the early days of our being trafficked, when we had first, second, and perhaps even third generations being trafficked across the Atlantic Ocean. You see? So we still had that connection, though every time a child was born, either on that slave ship or on that plantation, you see, that connection became thinner and thinner and thinner until ultimately it appeared to be broken. Now, where those broken gaps came was, well, just like we changing your name, we giving you a new name. You will not have your your Ghanaian name, okay? Your Mandinka name. You will not have those names. You will have Eurocentric names. And those Eurocentric names, many of them were biblically orientated.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. So the tie to the ancestors, generations born here, okay, became tied with the biblical and also tied with the punishment of not adhering to the authoritating, the authoritative, the authoritarians who stated that, oh, you will go to church, you will be Christianized. The doctrine of discovery states that I can Christianize anybody that I want to. You understand? And if they don't submit, like the jihad, okay, heads will roll. And they have. You see? So even when it was known to us, the fear made us kind of step back because we were made examples of people like yourself and myself. We were made examples of, drug out in the middle of all of our people and horrifically dismembered. And the message was like cutting off that head and putting it on a post. It's like, keep messing around here and all y'all gonna end up like that. So, we have to, we have to include that factor. Okay. Not just fear of the unknown, but fear of death for even daring to into the unknown. Because the unknown is not as unknown, you know, as one might perceive. As we stated earlier, the inner calling is there. Okay. The inner essence is there. And for of us who became more so involved with the tribal nations that existed in this country, okay, miscalled Indians, miscalled Native Americans, you know, I don't even like the term indigenous, whatever name Europeans put on it. I'm like, yo, they were tribal nations. Okay. And our people mixed with them because we found, though they were known, there was something about them that we knew, you see?
Mm.
And that's why so many of us have mixed blood. We
Mm.
got Cherokee folks sitting up in here. We got Choctaw folks sitting up in here. You understand? So,
Blackfoot.
yeah, yeah. And the Seminoles down in Florida. Okay, the combination of many different people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there were many of us who did not fear the unknown. We escaped into the Everglades and dismal swamps of North Carolina. We made our settlements. Okay. But we also had to keep our fear factor together because these terrorists, they were dragging us back even after Emancipation Proclamation. You see, you have to understand that. But moving on, the necessity to believe is something that, and I like the term that you coined a few podcasts ago, and I find myself using it. The eternal self, the internal self, but with inside the internal self is the eternal self, and that eternal self becomes for Ifa Isheshe that we are seeking. the eternal. Now we are set to seek it, and people say, "Oh, but that's spiritual. That's not religious." But when we look at it from an ancestral perspective, what's the difference between being religious, and being spiritual? These are tear downs, and many of the people who were writing about, the African religion and spirituality were European missionaries, be they Portuguese, Spanish, English, Dutch, it doesn't matter. They would come, many didn't even spend 2 weeks with the priestly, came in with preconceived notions of the noble savages. Yeah, but you sitting up in their courtyard, but you refuse to believe, even though you're looking at it. You refuse to believe.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me of Shikanta Diaz's work.
Yeah.
Shikanta proved without a shadow of a doubt that all the ancient Kemetic, kings, queens, priests, priestesses, were all, melanated descent. But yet they still, I mean, mind you, this man is a master anthropologist now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and they still would not accept, the facts that he laid out in front of them, which is fine, but the facts are there. The writings on the wall in the temples of Kemet. You know what I mean? So, but just because that wasn't enough, let's just go ahead and break it down anthropologically.
That's exactly what I'm saying, brother. Belief, as I wrote, the same way Dr. Washington put his one two in
phenomenal piece of
Place of Nights, War and Resurrection. When Amina is having this, discourse with this surreal being, Buluku, she questions this entity, the power of belief. And the response was, Buluku said, "Look, I know belief, and belief doesn't care what you believe in. Belief doesn't care who you believe in. All belief is concerned about is you believing. And as a reward for your believing, you're given certain insights and certain powers and certain strengths that you may not be able to grasp if you don't believe, if you have no belief. And therein lies the power of belief. But as he continued, belief is a lesser God, striving for ascension. Okay? Because we don't even discuss believing in belief. We just discuss what we believe in.
Hey, can you ride that back? Can you say that again for the people in the back? I'm sure some people heard it, but that's kind of deep. So I might need to get a remix on that one, Baba.
Yeah, because as we strive for the internal, okay, we get to the eternal, and there we find the core of belief. On this inward journey, this as we transforming ourselves spiritually, on this journey, Iwakiri, as we're struggling to understand what it is to be a cosmic reality. Okay, we find belief there. Belief, a grounding force, if you will, of not only our faith but also our intellect. Okay, now we will discuss what we believe or do not believe in, but we rarely discuss believing in belief.
I like that. That's deep. And you know what that reminds me of too, Baba, is two things actually. But one is, I was gonna go with the second one first, but I'm gonna go with this one first. One is love, self-love, love thyself. It's one thing like to work on knowing thyself, but how many of us can honestly say that we were taught how to love thyself?
Shay.
I can speak for myself personally. I wasn't. No disrespect to my you know what I'm saying, none of my family, because I give thanks and I would not trade my tribe for anything or anybody in the world. If I could do it over again, I'll pick everything exactly the same because that's what made me who and what I am. However, I also know based off of my own personal, studying and researching and, due diligence and learning more about our history culturally, familially, community and culturally, like, there's so many different dynamics of coming from that ma'afa, you know what I mean? So it's like we weren't taught how to love ourselves. So I didn't really learn how to love myself until I was like 35.
You understand?
You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like I had a lack of confidence or, didn't care about myself. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't none of that. It was like I had never up until that point really even thought about or even realized, do you love yourself? And if you do, what does loving yourself look like?
Yeah.
How do you exemplify that you love yourself?
Right.
What are some of the things that you now know or are different because you have this quote unquote love of self? So me personally, it was boundaries, setting boundaries and not allowing people to come across those boundaries, or if they cross those boundaries, to know and have the wherewithal to cut those people off and keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? Or energy, keeping my energy in a certain place, in a certain space, in a certain elevated frequency, to where if somebody comes into that space and tries to bite and suck on some of that like a mosquito or a parasite, I gotta cut that loose and walk away from that place too, because it's like at the end of the day, if you can't be the best you for you, who can you be the best for?
Good people out there. I really hope you see this time as monumental, because see, there are a lot of people, oh, I want to know more about Orisha. Okay, fine. Okay. Oh, I want to know more about this Odu. Fine. I want to know more about this ritual. Fine. Okay. We can continually cover those topics ad infinitum, infinitely. Okay. But look how long every other religion has been around, and every other, form of exercising or expression that religion is around. Ours is older by thousands and thousands of years. We are attempting to reconnect the connection.
Sure.
Now, I'm going to add to the mixture, okay, about loving self. Okay. Very, very important. Okay. And on the other side of not loving self is hating self, self hate. And how is that on one side, and on the same side, half of the one side, is how that self hatred is projected and promoted and, pound into the dark side of religious indoctrination. You're not going to see any black angels. You're not going to see any black gods. You're not going to see any black prophets. You're not going to see any melanated. And the longer we go with this, the less melanated it's going to become. Johnson and Johnson put on the front of their magazine, Ebony, back in the 60s, pictures of a black Christ. Black preachers had a fit. They wound up having to recall the magazine. Okay? It was so,
I could hear Malcolm's voice screaming in my head. Who taught you to hate yourself?
exactly. But
I hear it screaming in my head.
It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
How many people would dare to open their mouths and speak it? We know who taught it to us. The same people who stripped us from love of self, even love of family. And you want to talk bad about single mothers? Well, you would have run breeding. You were the ones who took the fathers out. You were the ones who created this monster, and now you're going to demonize it and say, "Look at them." Yeah, look at us. This is the poison, that you bring into existence. But now, since you don't want to deal with it, or find another reason to diminish us and bring us into self-hatred, okay? Now it's really not a problem, but we're just going to make it appear to be one. We're going to blow it up because it lends to the self-hatred.
Yeah.
Every time you hear single mother or the father's locked up or this, that, or the other thing,
it's all propaganda and indoctrination, though.
Yeah, but it's serving its purpose.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw that last night in the movie, that Gladiator 2 movie. I was extremely disappointed.
Yeah, I wanted to try to tell you, but
well, listen, listen. It was edutainment purposes.
Okay, but so what happens is that as we're seeking to self-love, self-hatred is like, and so here we come with our ancestral expression of existence and say, "Oh, I got something for you, self-hatred." It's called Ifa. It's called Isheshe. Okay? It's called my Ori. It's called Orisha. It's called Iwori, my spiritual transformation. Oh, self-hatred, you think you bad? Step your butt up in here and let me show you what the real spiritual power is about.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Because if I'm not applying my belief system now, because I have to believe in Orisha, I have to believe in not just, oh, I'm going to revere my ancestors. No, I have to believe in their conceptualization of the cosmic eternal and dismiss these, as you stated, propaganda like images of Tarzan in the jungle and the natives kind of thing. We come out of that. But see, if we don't lend belief to breaking free of that, evidently we're not strong enough to do it. And we can become academically, astute. We got PhD folks walking around hating African religion.
Oh, yeah.
So the academics is not changing the belief system. It's not transforming us. As a matter of fact, it's kind of making us a little bit even more into the we ain't having that. I'm going with this.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, the
we
miseducation of the Negro, Baba. G. Woodson's work, like, I
yeah,
mean, he really, 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 I mean, he laid down like the blueprint to, one of the blueprints to like really
yeah,
get into the deep, the depths of how deep this goes psychologically,
yes. I'm not saying that everybody's like that. I mean, look
Right.
at Dr. Washington. But
Mhm.
as far as the majority, you know, a lot of business meetings I used to go to, in establishing the school there in Orange,
Mhm.
folks got their degrees and, they're politician and everything, but they just seem determined to start off a meeting with the Lord's Prayer. And I'm like, why? This is a freaking business meeting.
Yeah.
We're here for business, but you keep feeling that you have to, make
Yeah.
sure. Hmm?
I'm sorry. No, I was saying they keep feeling they got to acquiesce, and like conform to the societal norm.
Yeah, but it's so unnecessary. We in
Right.
a business meeting. You know what I mean? But you feel as though that's of what you, I dare say, believe in, and now
Yeah.
you have to express that belief. And I'm like, I'm not Christian, you know. And if you pass the wine and wafers around, I will simply say no, thank you. And I have done that. When I was playing with the church band, they hired me to make the band better. But then predictably, now I could be converted. I'm like, no, I don't.
You didn't want to drink the blood of the lamb?
No, thank you. No, I'm good. It's all right. And now I'm going to be demonized. So I'm like, you know what? Where my bicycle? I'm riding up on out of here. Do you see the sunset? I'm going that way
No, that's
because you can't seem to help yourself,
mm,
and
mm,
don't even think the work that I did and how I moved those musicians up. Oh, we ain't even going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this demon who refuses to, get in line, this pagan. Okay. And I'm like, you know what? That's the name of my bicycle. Come on, pagan. We up on out of here. Because I don't, well, but back to your statement. Are they doing it to change me, or are they doing it because they feel as though they have to fulfill themselves? And if
absolutely,
that's
man.
the case, I feel as though you're a very empty person. I don't care how many times you go to church. I
Yeah.
don't care how many times you praise the Lord. If
Yeah.
you feel as though there's nobody else on the planet who can be other than you can't understand somebody being not like you, that makes you, from my center, an empty person. I can accept you, so why can't you accept me? If your belief system is so, you know, godly, then why can't you understand? Even going back to your example about check onto Diop, why can't you look at the facts? Why can't you look at the facts and be so moved by the facts and not by your faith? Because you're empty. That's
Yeah.
what empty people do. Man,
Yeah.
I work with these college students, right? And two quickies that kind of substantiate where I'm coming from. Now, mind you, I'm the professor in the class, so what I'm telling you or sharing with you, I should say, is
Mhm.
an actual, situation.
Mm.
A young man in there, got to be about mid 20s, and somehow or another we got, started talking about, prehistory, because I teach the origins of writing and all of that. And somebody said something about dinosaurs, and he was like, there was no such thing as dinosaurs. Of course, everybody stopped, looked at the young man, and was like, okay, all right, now me being me, I'm like, explain your position. Okay, what makes you say that, man? Well, dinosaurs never existed. And I said, well, okay, what about like the bones in the museums? You know what I mean? And the what they're pulling up from the tar pits, and the imprints on the and all of that kind of thing, of early life forms. He said, none of that matters. I said, how can and who told you there was no such thing as dinosaurs? He said, my preacher. And I was like, okay. And this wasn't the first time I heard, some religious that all of this talk about, prehistorics and dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff wasn't God. It wasn't mentioned in the Bible and yada yada yada. So okay, well look, I'm not gonna argue with you, man. I mean, everybody got what they got to say. There ain't no right or wrong in here. Okay. But I said, if you're in an academic environment and you say something like that, please be ready to back it up with something more than your preacher said so.
Yeah. The fossils were just created by AI.
But no, we going back before AI was.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Like, so what? Did Marty McFly travel from Back to the Future into the future, use AI to create fossils, and travel back? You know what I'm saying? Like with Doc, like, come on, the DeLorean ain't do all that, man. Come on
now. Group of sisters, middle age, down sisters, got a little Caribbean flavor to them. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, we're doing well in the class and all that. But then they got to the point where they felt as though they had to, act like they was in church, because evidently they were the same church. And I said, okay, sisters, I get it. You know what I mean? And you really feel as though believing is going to help you study. But don't forget to study, because if you believe you're going to pass the test and you don't study, okay, may be a problem, okay? But I said, but why do you feel as though it's so necessary for you to like go through all this kind of religious thing during class? Well, the Lord this and the Lord that. And I said, it's very interesting to me, and perhaps you can help me to understand that why you as a woman or you as women would be so embracing of a paternalistic religion that basically faults you for the sin of the world and has cast upon you the sin of menstruation, which is the blood flow literally of life. I said, I'm just curious, why well, that's the way we were raised. That was their response. And I said, well, that answers the question. Okay. So let's just rest with that's the way you were raised. And y'all stop praising the Lord up here in my classroom, every 5 minutes.
Oh, but you didn't like it?
No, it's not that I didn't like it. And it's not like I didn't understand it.
Gotcha.
It's just like Dr. Washington was saying in your last podcast, it's the wrong venue.
Yes, sir.
Remember you were talking about that?
Yeah, I love that, man. My man went in on that thing. I love some of them metaphors and bombs he was dropping.
I mean, I was like, what did he just say?
He was going in. It's
the wrong venue.
Yes.
You have your belief. That's you. Ain't no trying to take that away. I got enough of people trying to take something away from me, and I got to fight to keep it and then grow it too, in spite of the opposition, like Ifa Isheshe. At the time, I was one of the few African Americans, quote unquote, who was going to Nigeria and coming back. Wasn't going to Cuba. I had been to Puerto Rico. Later on, I was in Trinidad, But the whole thing is that I was Nigerian made. And that air I breathed and those words I heard, those were the planting seeds of thought, deeper introspection, and also the nurturing elements of a belief that was lingering inside of me, dormant, but yet still making its presence known. You are more than this. Believe in yourself, eternal self. Is it difficult to do if you don't love yourself? I would say yes, not impossible, but difficult. How you going to believe in yourself when you don't even love yourself? You know? And I deal with that with students now because, see, I'm constantly sharing the insights of Ifa. Okay. A lot of my students, the 11th and 12th graders now, pre-college, I hear the word I can't so much. Going back to your statement about the unknown. I can't, I can't do that. I can't read a whole book. I can't do this. I said, you know what? We're gonna stop using that phrase. We're gonna stop using it. And this was just last week. So we're gonna stop using that phrase. Then I told them about the could. I had them cracking up. I don't know. Maybe older folks know that one.
I remember that.
Right.
I can't. That could. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And then when it changed those words and started talking about I can, then miraculous things started happening. Okay. So I said, I'd rather hear I'll try than I can't, because I'm not giving you impossible work. I'm just giving you isheshe. I'm giving you work that's transformational and not just sitting up in here and not growing and not being transformed. Not while I'm standing here. Okay. I know that's what you've been used to all the way through your school. I know what folks been used to. Like the women told me, well, that's how we was raised, as if that really answers the question, you know. But I have to accept that and kind of, open up a new avenue, because perhaps maybe one out of four of them went back and thought about that. Well, why am I putting so much into this, Jesus is my husband kind of thing, you know, as opposed to I need to love myself. I'm a melanated woman. I'm in a college course. I'm trying to better myself. And maybe I need to love myself and believe in myself a little bit more so that I can achieve my goals. See? So, you know, uh, something else you said that was really tight, man, about programs like this assisting people to better understand, to better know that this is not the unknown. Okay. You know it, you feel it, you probably even believe that there's something more. But what you don't have is the tools to get there. You don't have words to articulate it. You don't have a circle of kindred to reinforce you, as opposed to people telling you, "Oh, you crazy, don't get into that voodoo stuff," and all that kind of thing. But on the other end, which you are discovering through Ashe Channel, is that this is pretty deep. And they got books. You understand? They got books. It's not just about going and sacrificing 40 chickens, and every time you turn around, you got something spooky going to happen. No, they having intelligent conversations. They're writers. They're producers. They got businesses. And you know what? I can be in it and never have an initiation. Everybody who's sitting up in that church, they ain't go to theology school. Everybody who's sitting up in that church can't be the pastor. Everybody who's in that masjid is not the imam, or neither hold any position. Everybody's not a rabbi in the Jewish, you know what I mean? Or hold any position. But they're of that consciousness line. They're of that my people line. And I may not be worshiping, okay, in their way, but I have my spiritual thing together. I'm going in, okay? I'm working on the reverence, okay? I got to learn more about my ancestors. I got to learn more about the empires. I got to learn more about the psyche of my people prior to European and Islamic invasion. Well, Islamic first and then European, okay? But the information is out there, and they're teachers. They're teachers out there. I never knew that before. Or somebody told me I had to go get readings and I had to pay. And I don't really want to get into all that, but I still want to be a part of it. And what we're saying is, come on, come on, come on, be a part of it. You don't have to be a priest or a priestess. That's ridiculous. There's a whole lot of words I can put on how that whole mechanism came into play, but it's not all the necessary. Do you have to belong to an elay? No. Do you have to belong to a church to be Christian? Come on, people, let's start making sense and step away from the syncretism, which has that authoritarian and financial dimension pretty strong, coming from the whole Catholicism. Okay. But that's a reality. I'm not saying that it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it is what it is. But we be free now.
I say. Yes, sir.
So people can support Ifa Isheshe with their energy, their kindness, their standing up, their articulation, their search to accumulation of knowledge. They can support the institutions. You don't have to follow this bouncing ball that somebody else created. You think everybody in the village was running and getting a divination every 10 seconds? Or everybody in the empire was making their bows every night and every day? Come on, let's start being for real. Let's start approaching this like, grown-ups with clear vision and not duplicators of some twisted form of ritualization. Did you say your prayers tonight? Well, if you didn't say your prayers, the Lord's not going to bless you. I'm like, well, really? Then what kind of Lord is that? Now, going back to a statement you made about the money. Well, if you don't pay the money, then God don't like that. I mean, really? So what kind of God is that? And then there's the whole fear of the end of days and you're born into the world as a sinner. None of that is in E5. I've been in this a while and I've never came across no dude that says, you know what? God's coming down. Oludumar's coming down. He's going to wipe out humanity and the dead going to rise and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, really? There's no apocalyptic. Say that 10 times, right? Apocalyptic. There's none of that. But we're so imprinted and indoctrinated that we got to do right. How many years folks been walking around with the world coming to an end? And I put in Place of Nights, how, there were priests talking about, well, the world is coming to the end again. You know what I mean? We all just kind of get this flow that it's going to be the end. It's going to be the end. Going to be the end, as opposed to it's going to be the beginning. And that's what Ifa is sharing with us. It's always the beginning, the possibilities of new beginnings.
I'm trying to figure out the world coming to an end again. If the world came to an end, we ain't here right now, man. So
that's what I'm talking about. But see, that's the logical fallacy that I find in the Abrahamics. Is that okay? Well, the world's going to come to an end and the day is going to rise. Then what's the point? What's the point of the dead rising if the world's coming to an end? That is a logical fallacy. But if that's what people want to believe, let's hope that they don't make it a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is a whole nother statement. If you believe something strongly enough and long enough, you turn whatever the situation is into your belief. And that's another power of belief. If you put out to a mass of people that you're superior to another group of people, then everything now starts to shape itself according to what you have those people believing. Every white person believes they're better than a black person, even though they obviously are not, but they've been twisted.
They've been indoctrinated too to believe that.
Exactly. And that's the point. Belief doesn't care what you believe in. You're empowered by it. And you can take these same people and send them to all the diversity training and all the mass churches and wherever else they going. But that superiority complex, that ain't going anywhere, because the reward for it is privilege beyond the process. See?
Oh yeah, I see what you did there too.
Yeah, okay. Don't tell nobody.
Yeah, but now look, like I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
All right, but see, this is when I state the power of belief. And I know a lot of folks think, well, we're going to walk on water kind of thing. No. It ain't about walking on water. It's about going in and unshackling, okay, the trauma that prevents us from the internal, which is a road, if you will, to the eternal. Let's learn to live eternally, like our ancestors are continuing to live eternally. However, it will happen on one level, the physical level, genetically. All right. As long as we're able to exist, we will continue to procreate, and that eternalness will be there, but it will lie dormant. It will lie untapped as a resource of empowerment unless we go in, unless we spiral in, unless we worry, unless we have a spiritual transformation from within. We can have it as far as our worship, at our ojubo, at our shrines, but we can't get caught up into the Orisha or out there. We can't continue a systemic disbelief in self. We can't continue a systemic lack of love for self. These are all roads to development and empowerment and the unleashing of potentials that we perhaps have never fathomed. Okay. And yeah, we see other people doing great things, be they Christian, Muslim, Jews, Buddhists, whomever, you know, or people who claim themselves to be atheists.
Yeah,
Okay.
I should. I mean, at the end of the day, I
Yeah.
always like to throw this out there just to be clear, because I'm all for, if you got positive energy and you saying you show me love and respect, I show you love and respect. I'm giving you positive energy. So it's all about reciprocity. Because in all honesty, I don't care who you pray to. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care about none of that. If you show me love, I'm showing you love. You show me respect, I'm showing you respect. It don't matter. You know what I mean? I feel like, and I've said this I don't know how many times on our platform, but it doesn't matter who you pray to. If you are striving to live and serve in the light of a child of godness, then it doesn't matter what you call that God. You know what I'm saying? It just so happens that a lot of people in that system of Christianity believe that it's their God or no God, and inferiority complex.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
That's the problem.
nah, you know what I mean? Like that. And that's where I feel like that's where a lot of the riffraff and a lot of, the bumping the heads and the clash and all that comes from, is because their mindset and the way I feel like a lot of people have been conditioned under that spiritual system of belief that they're superior, just like the white inferiority, wannabe supremacy, you know what I'm saying, conditioning or indoctrination or probably all that too. Same thing, because there are white people who that do speak the truth and that do know what real history is and that do knows, you know what I'm saying, what it really is. And I respect that because they're speaking the truth. Some of them sacrifice their lives to speak the truth, just like some of us do. So those are the people who I feel like are freedom fighters, regardless of faith, skin color, whatever, because you're doing your work for the cause of humanity. You're doing it for the right reasons, for the one race that there is, which is the human race. But that is a really large disconnect with those people who I feel like that's Bible thumpers and spiritual gangbangers. You know what I mean? Like if you ain't part of their gang, then you other gang, and you saying that they want to war with you. But it's like it ain't even got to be like that, because if you got the love and the respect, that's all we should have to need for each other. Like Mary J. Blige said, "Love is all we need." You know what I'm saying? And then it get rid of a lot of the other BS. To me, that's just my little thoughts.
But yeah, and that goes back to the emptiness of those who are in power but not empowered. No, that's emptiness. That's pure and simple.
I like that.
I got to keep filling myself with everything and everybody because I am a bottomless pit. And if I would dare equate that with hell, then I would. Okay, that bottomless pit that you in is hell bent on dragging everybody down into it, and that makes you hell spawn, right? And the only way to stop that are more the rule than the exception, or in most cases that we speak of. I mean, true, there were white folks who fought in the Civil War. You know what I mean? And they may have had their reasons, but slavery was a part of it. You know, there were many different people doing all kinds of things. Jewish people owned slaves and uh, supported plantations economically, and some of them owned a slave ship building. You know, but when our historical leaders were speaking out, you know, about these things, oh, that's anti-Semitic. No, it's not anti-Semitic. We're telling the truth. It's documented. So, you know, why are you getting yourself all the because you want to defend your belief, and you want everybody to continually believe that A, you're the chosen people, and B, you've suffered the greater Holocaust. What Leopold of Belgium did to our people in the Congo makes your little experience a blink in the eye. Your 6 million people have nothing to do with the 30 million people that were slaughtered by the European people in the Congo itself.
Or we say the Ma'afa,
The whole
also known as the transatlantic slave trade, where we're talking about upward numbers of hundreds of millions of Africans.
And now let's add to that, my brother, the East Coast with the Arabs, you know, and you know, and you know, as kids we came up watching, you know, Aladdin and the 40 Thieves and you know stuff like that, and they would always have, you know, black folks, you know, they're guarding, you know, the women and all that, but that was before we knew about harems and how they would castrate our men because they didn't want them getting with the women and set them to guard over the women, and the countless millions on the East Coast. How we are sitting here today and having these discussions is
Black excellence.
eternally, because it couldn't be just worldly, or we would just be so devastated by the horrors, okay, that would be silent. We would be silent and literally in the shadows of our own existence. Again, you know, to kind of you know, bring to, you know, another a close, if you will, another point, and that is thinking about the power of belief, okay, and how what we call igbagbo,
How you spell
okay,
that?
belief. Igbagbo is seen. That's religious belief in Yoruba, okay, and really kind of not so much question our faith or our logic, you know, but question our hearts and our souls.
Sure.
And will reverence lead to spirituality? And will spirituality lead to worship? I know those were my stages. The reverence came from the 60s, okay? The political, the historical. Then the dawning of spirituality, the candles, the statues, you know what I mean? The African movement from within.
Yes, sir.
Taking on, you know, like little street names, you know, to put the government name to the side a bit, you know, the spirit was dawning, getting into theater as a form of ritual, you know, the ritualization, the continual work of the Isheshe, doing now giving talks, you know, it was a transformational, but transformational does not dismiss the evolutionary. The evolutionary becomes the revolutionary. So we move forward beyond the spiritual, but yet still everything's now. Remember, we're not in an either or Western European world. Now the spirituality leads to the form of worship, and the next thing you know, it's like, okay, Orisha shrines, okay, African deities, and the next thing you know, African divinity. Not just a cliche, but a realization and then an actualization. Because once I realize it, it's on now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're actualizing. Now we're writing books. Now we're giving lectures. Now we're traveling the world. Now we're on our Shea podcast. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's actual.
Hey, now we're healing people, educating people, empowering people, enlightening people,
Yes, sir.
pouring into you know, people elevating vibrational frequencies with people, you know, elevating and clearing the auras of people. Like there's just so many different dynamics, being therapriests to the people, you know. Sure. Bye-bye.
Yeah. People chiming in.
People.
Quiet tonight. What's up? Sunday night? What's going on, people?
Yeah, I think everybody is sucking it all in. I know that's what I'm doing, but you know, they hear, you know, everybody, you know, they throwing them in there. But ritual, this is one that and I feel like I got a grasp of where you are in your corner of the universe in regards to ritual. However, I wanted to kind of pick your expertise.
Okay.
You know, in regards to your career and resume over the past 4 decades, though, I wanted to figure out, in regards for newcomers and people who are, you know, new to the faith, new to the practice, new to Orisha, Isheshe, or even just African spirituality as a whole, generalized, right? Where would you say, and I'll go with 3, where would you say would be the most significant 3 rituals that a brand new devotee might want to incorporate into their spiritual practice, as well as maybe someone, I'll even use, shout out the Queen, I'll use her as an example, as well as someone who's much further along in their spiritual journey than, you know, a new devotee. Like, can I get 3 rituals that you feel like are necessity for a brand new devotee that can kind of help, you know, to go from step 1, step 2, step, you know, to kind of elevate throughout their process in this tradition that's new to them? And then after that, if we can kind of come back and give maybe 3, I feel like, necessary or mandatory rituals for people who are further along, like even myself, you know, in regards to creating and developing consistency and dedication, so that we can start to see like the manifestation or crystallization of the works, you know, that's what do you call it? A measurable.
Okay. All right. So we have 3 initial rituals, and then we'll have 3 intermediate rituals.
Sure. Thank you.
Now, again, this is from my corner of the universe. Different elays, different people. You know, like what's the difference between a reverend and a preacher? What's the difference between a preacher and a minister? You know, what's the difference between the different types of babalaos we discussed? What's the difference between a babalao and even within the Ifa cosmology, mediums and slash herbalists or physicians? So depending on the individual, they're going to be different responses. But as they say, many roads, okay, can all lead to the same destination. Okay, and many ports of entry can lead to the same destination, right? So the first ritual that would share for people who are coming out of the berry stage, of unknowing. But I'd add to that definition unpracticed, okay? Because I believe that we do know, okay, not unchained from it. You know, it's not unchained, okay? So we're trying to know what we feel to know, if you follow it, okay? Now, what we have is basically a return to nature. That would be the first type of ritual, okay? This step does not necessarily require mentors, hierarchies, and structures, okay? This is just the becoming Orisha. They're on the bridge from being to the initiated. That bridge is an opening to the nature of life, the cycles of life. Being able, consistent walks on the beach, for example, to look at it more than a simple walk on the beach, to be under a starlit sky, a little bit more than just being out at night, to start really working from within on that feeling of I belong, I belong in nature. And as I continually echo, I am nature. So let me relax my breathing when I take this walk. Let me listen more intently to the birds when I take this walk. You know, let me try to breathe a little bit more calmly. Say, I can turn this into a ritual, which now enhances my spiritual. So that would be the first stage, you know, spending time developing a connection on a consistent basis, ritually immersing self in nature. And if you can't get out because it's snowing outside, spiritual baths, lighting the candles, bringing a spiritual warmth to yourself via your home, via your life situations. Okay. All right. That would be one. And of course, we can get, deeper into it during class.
No, that's dope, Baba. I love it because I had no idea where you was gonna go with it. I knew you was gonna go somewhere, but that wasn't what I expected. But please keep going. I don't want to even.
No.
Please keep going.
Yeah. And see, this is where our practices in Reiki, yoga, I would dare say, Tai Chi had a very huge part in me becoming a therapist priest. Okay, you stated.
Shout out to Baba Ogun Tolu, man, because he might be watching. I don't want him to come and snatch me up later for
Give him some
using his
power.
term without giving the creative credit to him. So shout out to the Baba Goon, man. That's his term that I borrowed for the day.
Yeah. It's
That's
funny
what
having those same guys, uh, that's what I'm saying. Difference between a priest and they're all Western connotations.
Yep.
But when we start lending our empowerment to terms and we tear them apart and then put them back together.
Put that ashe on that thing.
Yeah. Oh, now I
Mm.
think we're cooking with gas now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you're taking these spiritual practices that would seemingly have nothing to do with Ifa but yet they're spiritually enhancing us because of the nature by which they were built. You're doing sun salutations. Well, you're supposed to be close to the sun or thinking about the sun, but you're stretching your body. Your body starts to speak to you like it's your temple, your temple. Okay, and it's like, okay, I'm starting to get a grasp of me being more than this shackled individual, still spiritually enslaved. Okay. So all of these types of practices come into play. All right. Step one. Step two, continue to accumulate information. Okay. This whole thing about I don't like to read, got to bust out of that. We are the inventors of reading and writing. Okay. That's not, you know, a Black Power statement. That's historically documented. So we can start to accumulate books that speak to our growing spirit. There may be books on meditation. There may be books on fasting. There may be books on dietary directives. Okay. Some of us become vegetarians and then vegans. Right. Some of us say, well, okay, but I need to stay off this sugar, whatever it is that's going to enhance the body. That would be the second step, to include colonics, enemas, purging, cleaning out years of accumulated toxins in our bodies. Needless to say, anybody who takes up that practice will be amazed at how much waste we carry in our bodies. Even if we are moving our bowels and flushing our system on a consistent basis, there's still 10 pounds, if not more, of waste accumulated in our intestines.
That's the real thing, Baba, because I started doing it last year.
Yes.
The the cleanses and all that. And I'm proud to say I'm a very regular person per se. Like, I'm happy about that. But I thought, I was being someone who's regular, had a very regular system. I would have never known that much was still in black going on up in that boy. So that's real. And I felt the difference too, though. I can see it in my skin. I felt it in my energy, my mood. It was a lot of pros that came with doing that. Matter of fact, it's about that time again, coming up soon.
Yes. So, but see, we seem a little shy about talking about, these aspects. But if we're going to be healers, how can we not talk about ways to cleanse the body? You don't think that the ancient Commetans were learning, because they learned it from the Iblis birds, who would give each other enemas before they took flight off to wherever they were migrating to. So we're watching this, and then we say, well, let me try it. You know what I mean? And it's like, wow, okay. Flushing all of this waste out of our bodies becomes a spiritual practice. You understand where we're going with this, people? Okay. So these are the initial steps, but they are steps that continue even through the other practices. And the more we spiritualize our rituals, the more the rituals spiritualize us. So even at my young age, okay, because people are like, oh, Bobby, you're not that old. Okay, you just 147. All right. But the whole thing is, I will flush my system even as a vegan, because waste just doesn't come from food. Waste comes from thought. Waste comes from the environment. Waste comes from stress. Waste isn't just a matter of food. When we excavate, when we move our bowels, it's not just because of the food. The body is eliminating toxic energy as well. So when we assist in the process, yes, as you stated, we not only feel better in our bodies, we feel better all over. And now we take that cleaner body to our Ojubo as we move to the immediate, and we take that lightness of existence, the light, we take that to our Ojubos, we take it to our Orisha, we take it to the people in our communities. You see, we're the priestly. These are our practices. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do it, but we got Babalao sitting up in here. we have people who are by definition supposed to have a different way of life than everybody else, but our light shines on everybody else.
That's right.
Okay? So that would be the second of three. Start taking detoxification seriously and making it a part of a consistent practice, which now becomes ritual. So people on their knees praying to Jesus, but that ain't stopping diabetes from killing them, colon cancer from killing us. You see, so the prayers, they have whatever it is that they give a person, but it's the lifestyle of the spiritual, the ritualization of the end that makes the difference. That's two.
Sure. It's powerful.
3, but not lastly, look at your ears as wombs, and inside of that womb, there cradles an infant, and everything that infant hears is going to have an impact on what it becomes. Everything that infant smells is going to have an impact on what it becomes. How that infant is cared for and nurtured is going to have an impact on what it becomes. So when we start looking at our sensory organs, and I use the ear specifically because of its shape, and because when we see the baby cradled in, we can almost see how that embryonic is there. Be careful what you listen to. Start taking special note of what you listen to, because it might be a little questionable if you call yourself a spiritual man and you're listening to quote unquote music that's very derogatory towards our women. How can you be a spiritual man and have no spiritual essence that merges with the spiritual woman. Okay. So what is it that you're listening to? And how is that infant going to grow inside of you? Because the next thing you know, you're repeating those words because that's what you hear, just like a child. The next thing you know, you're acting out those words because you have no control over yourself. And that leading domestic violence thing becomes a very harsh reality because of what you listen to. Sometimes you're forced to listen to it. But as we grow spiritually, we start to be able to screen it out and start to take note of the impact and the effect that it's having on us. Who am I listening to and why? What am I listening to and what are the results? And now it's not just what I'm listening to, it's what I'm speaking. So what you listen to, what you speak, and in and or do, like Iwari, be careful what you watch. Because as they say, the eyes are the windows of the soul. But the soul is also the window of the eyes. Understand? So these are teachings because we don't get them. We almost fall off the cliff, and too many times we do. And I got to climb our way back up because lack of uh, teachings from the mentors who themselves haven't been taught, who are still attempting to reconnect with the connect, if you will. So as we grow our elays and we grow our Ifa Isheshe involvement, I would say that these three statements just made, nature, detoxifying, and sensory perception and sensory deliverance, if you will, okay, become of the utmost importance. And the more you formulate and then make concrete those three initial points, they will be that which serves as a foundation as you build into the intermediate stage and then on to the advanced, keeping everything in threes. All right. Are we good with that, Baba or Orisha Baby?
Absolutely, Baba. And the tribe is going nuts in the comments. But yeah, nah, we're good. We
All right.
good.
Well, let's hear some comments, man.
Well, we got dope breakdown. I've been sharing them. Man, so you hitting that Isheshe poetry out here in these Isheshe Ashe streets.
Well, just like you said, you poets and priests and prophets.
Yes, sir. Teachers.
It's all about speaking to the people, speaking truth to the people in a way that is not authoritarian. You understand? Going back to that, you know, not fear and emotional. I think somebody put up, rewarding gullibility.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that was in Nkosi. Shout out to Nkosi. I think he was.
Folks are gullible because they're rewarded for being that way. It's just like the little mice in a cage. If the more you do what they want you to do, the more cheese you gonna get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you try to run out that cage, they might sick a cat in on you.
Yeah.
You might learn it. But so the way I speak is because of those three foundations that I don't have to reach back into anymore because I've learned to accept them as basically the root of my transformation, my growth.
I love it because you really went. I was thinking you was gonna say one thing, and you hit a whole nother avenue. I was like, damn, I was not thinking that. I was thinking it might have been like an ancestral shrine, or you know what I'm saying. I didn't know where you was gonna go, but that's one thing. You're unpredictable, so I didn't know. But that's why I asked the questions I asked because I really want to know.
We're gonna move into the shrines once we get into the intermediate, if we have time this evening.
I got you.
Okay. Anybody else we want to throw up on there?
I think might be waiting for you to hit the next three, but no, we're good with time.
All right. I just want to, make sure to take time to hear everyone. All right. Sure. Now, I'm just going to go through these three for the intermediate stage, and then I'm going to sit back. Okay.
Real quick, Baba, before you dive in. So, family, if y'all got any questions, anybody have any questions or comments, or anything that you want to address before we wrap it up, you throw them in the comments, and I'll definitely bring them to the front when Baba finish with the next three.
For sure. All right. I heard somebody wrote a comment, FR, and I was like, Now, what they mean? FR.
For real.
For real.
Listen, man, listen.
Right.
I can't keep up no more these days, boy. Listen, I don't feel like I'm an old dude, but man, listen, some of these young people, these teenagers in the early 20s and mid 20s, like, what does that mean? I need to know, because I need to know what that means. Like, I'm not sure.
But trust me, it's in my glossary now. Every now and then I'm gonna go back. I'm working with my students. I'm gonna be like FR, and they're gonna probably for real, and they're gonna know it like that.
I know that's right.
Like 5 days to figure it out.
Hey, real quick, going Caribbean Nation in the building. I got you with that meditation, the meditation question too. I think it was you that asked that. I'm gonna do another podcast specifically to dive into that, and we got several more different new series that I'm about to start dropping in probably this week, I believe. But Bob has some heat coming too. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But go ahead, Bob. I don't want to keep interrupting while you hit these second three.
Good. I like to hear the discourse. That womb is always like needing to hear, needing to grow, needing to nurture. I don't think that's ever going to stop, man. I'm always going to want to hear from the people, because it's not about the monologue, it's about the dialogue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Listen, yeah. Now, I saw somebody share the old post that I had posted on Facebook years ago, and it was talking about energy, and it was like a meme that says energy is either what was it? I think it was energy is either contagious or it's what was the other one? But pretty much you're either affecting people with your energy in a positive light, or you're infecting people with your energy in a negative light. So energy is contagious, man. So we throwing that positive energy out there in that light, man, and it's the lighthouse is beaming.
Didn't we talk about that like way back in the day?
Yeah, I might have to bring that one back too for the crowd to see it. Years ago, we talked about this. It was predicted years ago. Baba challenged me, boy. Like, yeah, yes, sir. I remember that one.
So the next three, and again, good people, classes are being concretely formed. We're not talking about doing it. The bricks are being laid. All right. So we go more in depth and share experiences and notate as we build a way of sourcing the essence of who are of the tribe. Now, when we move into the intermediate stage, this is when I say we start looking for mentors. We start looking around for our woes. We start venturing in to the unknown. Okay, never been to Orisha, Fundamento, or I don't know what this thing is about. Eshu and Ogun and Oshoshi, and get my words in, and what them beads around, what these beads mean, you know what I mean? I've seen them every now and I got a cousin who was into that, but I never got into it. the whole, as they say, 9 yards. But after we go through the first 3 stages, and those dormant and recessive genes start to like, as you stated, the alarm clock is going off. Time for people to get woke up in here, okay? And I always start peeping things. And it's like, okay. All right, cuz, take me to one of these, what they call them, bembays, okay, whatever, okay? So now we start to wander within our wonderment, okay? We start to wander. You check this person out. Oh, I like them. Or check this person out. I don't like them. They too hard on people or whatever. And we start to try to feel things out from our purity. And if folks are resonating, we give them a little time. But folks aren't resonating, we give them less than a little time. But 1 foot is out the door. Okay, because maybe we just caught them on a bad day. Okay, so the whole thing is now we're exploring possibilities. Now we may be getting our first reading. Okay, now we're becoming familiar with Ia and Baba or Madrina or Madrina and Padrino. We're coming to understand that there's a whole world out here. You got the Apollo thing happening over there. Got the Orisha thing happening over there. You got the Voodoo thing with the Loa over there. And we got the Ghanaian thing happening because people were getting into the Ghanaian thing behind Baba Dini Zulu back in the day and his son. Okay, and we're starting to get around people who have names like Kwame and Amina and Nasukile, and you know what I mean. These are not the names of like the kids that I grew up with in school. Yeah, we're all John, Sarah, Jesus. Or everything Euro biblical, Eurocentric. Even after the kings, we're gonna name him Charles after King Charles, George after King George, and blah 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 blah. But now we're running into again, Afrocentric names, even though they weren't government names. These were names that people designed. And now we're starting to find that there are people who are naming their children very poetically. You know what I mean? Because the influence of Islam was beginning to take place. But I'm saying all that to say that we're into a new world. And whereas we may have heard, distant cries of it, now we're in. And we may be even getting an Orisha name, okay? Because some divination, some Babylon, some point. Now we got our Lekes, and now, okay, we're Oshun Niyi. You know what I mean? Okay. Now we're Kinyele. So we're starting to change our vibration as the first step of the intermediate. We're still tapped into the first three, but now, there's this ascension going on, as stated in my text, Imoye. There's this ascension going on. So now that I have my Lekes, I need to read more. I need to do A, B, C, D, and E, because that's part of the ascension paper. So let me work on that for a while. So now we step up to the warriors. You see, so in this intermediate stage, we're getting initiatory experiences. We're getting a sense of mentorship. We're exploring. And sometimes people get their Lekes at one place and have a falling out or whatever. They go someplace else, get their warriors from someplace else. You're no one's slave. If it's not working out, then trust me, it's best to find someplace else. Even if that someplace for a minute is no place. Okay? Guys, talk to some people, this is not an addiction, Don't let the adrenaline and rush have you fooled into thinking that this is what's best for you.
Yeah.
What's best for you is what you come to realize is what's best for you, not what somebody else is telling you what's best for you. You're grown. Okay? Let's just say those are the first two steps. Okay? Going out, doing some exploration, talking with people, taking notes, trying to get to understand. And I emphasize taking notes, okay? Learning to articulate. When I first hit this immediate stage, there was practically nothing in English. It was all Spanish, all Spanish. I had to get with some Spanish folks, that I work with and say, I'll pay you. You know what I mean? I need for you to translate to English because I need to know what I'm doing up in here. I need to know where all of this is coming from. And if I have to go through this to get to where I believe I'm going, then okay. All right. Not that I'm believing in you or your system. You just an assistant at this point. Okay. But nowadays you can find anything anywhere and then hit the language button and it'll translate into any language you want. But it wasn't that way back in the 70s. Okay. And so here we go. That's the next stage. Get involved. Get with somebody who doesn't mind you learning. From my humble corner of the universe, if somebody tells you don't read, don't study, don't dialogue, then let me just say, question it.
Don't trust them. That's what I would say to that.
Yeah. Because they might say, oh, well, we don't want you to get confused. Well, I tell any of my students, confusion is a good thing. Get confused. I'm going to ask you questions intentionally confusing because you got to learn to work this stuff out. Okay? We're not children. Nobody's going to paint a little picture and tell you, oh, this is God. You got to figure it out. Let it be confusing. But as long as you see that there's a tunnel at the end of the light, you're going to be okay. And if there is no light, Shine yourself. Okay. Now we're going through the 2 steps. Okay. Explore, learn. Okay. Start making text to self connections. Documentary every now and then. These days, YouTube is so full of everything. Okay. Now you may speak with your mentor about screening things out because you're following the ascension paper. Okay. Again, as any Moye, but now at least you have a guide. Okay. And now the third thing is start to understand the process of divination and ebos. Okay. Just don't go do it. Just don't get a divination or get a reading. Try to understand through conversation, dialogue with your mentor, your Baba, your Iya. Okay. A little study on your own. Be you a priest of Babalawo or Iya Nifa. Ain't nobody stopping you from cracking a book and trying to understand. Well, if this is this, then why is that? And why is this? Okay. Because other than that, you might as well just stay, in some kind of other authoritarian religious system. I ain't gonna call no names, where everybody's just telling you what to do and how to do it without you having any understanding of it. But you just doing it because you feel as though, as they are telling you, not what you are realizing for yourself is the grace of their God. And that might be true. Their God might be getting stronger and stronger by the day. But the benefit that has on people like us, I dare say, is limited. When we start having understandings of what our perceiving, our perception of the creative essences, even if it has no anthropomorphic struggle. It got to be a man. It got to look like this, and it's a he. That O in Yoruba does not mean he. That's translated into English. Olodumare is not a he. Good people, it's not a he. It's an essence. We put pronouns on things because of the language that we speak. In English, it got to be a he or she or something else. Okay. But in Yoruba, from my understanding, is that O does not mean he. God is not a he. God is not even a God. Okay. So, breaking free. And if we just want to say the essence, the Da, the creation. Okay. Da, da, da. Okay. As referred to from our Dravidian ancestors. Da is creation in Yoruba. Da, da is the creation of that which is created. Not he, not she, not even it. Understand? So once we start to get into those stages, those 3 intermediate stages, now I would say you're ready for priesthood, or you're ready to be a medium, or you're ready to be a healer, whatever direction your inner essence is taking you, not the one that I want you to go through, but the one that's revealed either through the Odu or through the obvious. If you're obviously a dancer, then go on and dance. Get your heart out. If you want to get initiated into priesthood, we can do that. But your dance is your offering. You understand? Your dance is your offering. So dance. Yes, sound goes. My brother, hopefully I touched on,
Yeah, no, you smashed it, as I knew that you would. That's why I asked. But no, you definitely answered it. And the tribe going in with the commentary,
great.
in response. And I agree with Nkosi and Sound Ghost and Nkosi and Queen, all of them, pretty much dropping jewels in the comments. It's like you dropping them on the stage. So it's jewels everywhere. Everybody, like Oprah say, you get a car, you got a jewel, we got jewels all over the place out here tonight, man, for real.
That's a good thing.
Absolutely. I say all over the place.
Wow.
Shout out to Carrie Nation in the building. He wanted me to touch on something that we were talking about a while back. I don't remember how many lives ago. I don't know if it was a live or a podcast, but a couple of shows ago, we were talking about meditation. I think it was the art and meditation episode. And I think it was something in regards to someone had asked a question about meditating and shrines. And so I think I had started speaking on it, but he wanted me to go back into it. But one of the things that I was sharing in regards to that is, for me personally, some of my most, I would say, impactful and on a personal level, most significant meditations were at my ancestral shrine. Not in my current home that I'm in now, but the home that I was in before that. I had a room that I had my ancestral shrine that it was kind of like in its own room. And I just recall going and sitting there with my ancestors, and I would light my candles, and I would just sit there. Sometimes I would audibly speak to them. Sometimes I would just sit there, and I feel like the communication was telepathically, or it was like I could just feel the information that they were giving to me through spirit, and also what I was trying to transmit to them from my spirit. And I felt like through those experiences and through those moments were some of the most profound interactions that I've had with spirit, and most of them were without verbal communication. So for those of you who I'll use a perfect example of how this works. So for those of you who have pets, I'm a dog guy. I got dogs. I've had dogs since I was a little boy. I like to keep a good dog, because they're companionship, relationships, etc. But they're guard dogs, and I like dogs that can guard the house and all that good stuff too. So each one of my dogs that I've had as an adult, I've been able to communicate with them telepathically, and I would do it intentionally to see if they were able to read into and to respond to the information that I sent out intentionally with my mind and with spirit or Ori. So I would say in my head the thought that I wanted my dog to do. Perfect example, I would get my current dog now, I could get him to sit down without saying a word to him, because I'll look at him and say he wants a treat. I'll look at him like, okay, I know what you want. And then I'll grab it and I'll hold it and I'll look at him. And sometimes he'll just stand there and play with me like he don't know what I'm trying to do. But then when he really want that treat, I'll say it in my head with like a sense of kind of like authority, like, sit down. But I say it internally in my head, and he'll sit down. He will sit down, and then I'll give him the treat. So for me personally, that's I feel like a tangible example of how this works, because spiritually, when I'm sitting at my shrine, I'm not giving out no demands first and foremost, but I'm there for the energy exchange and the energy transfer. And those have been some of the most profound, monumental, I feel like, experiences. And mind you, this was all before I don't know if I had my Elekes at the time. I don't even think I had my Elekes yet. I was just on my journey, but I knew the significance of how impactful our ancestral shrines are. And for me, I had a really good relationship with my ancestors who transitioned. That's all my shrines. So it's like I was blessed to be able to kind of, within myself and within my spirit, my Ori, I was blessed to kind of know that they can feel us and that, they're here with us. They're just in a different form. They're not in the physical form, but they're definitely here with us in the auric spiritual form, or I should say in the auric spiritual space, right? So it's like, I just recall like the comfort. Say if you're going through something and you're struggling, and somebody at work could be messing with you, harassing you. You know what I mean? It could be all kind of different foods, or it could be baby mama drama, baby daddy drama, ex-boyfriend, so whatever the case may be. The Ancestral Shrine is one of the places that I've learned, if you go to the shrine with good intention and positive, spirit and positivity, but also from a sense and a spirit of, could you assist me with this? Can I get some help with this? Is it possible that you can kind of help me to get this particular situation away from me, or out of my space to where it's impacting me negatively? Is this something that I could get some assistance with? And for me personally, it was delivered. And even in the moment, I could just recall feeling that sense of peace, feeling that sense of protection, feeling that sense of having almost like a force field of protection. And it's something that has been profound. And I can't stress enough how it seems simple, but it's a lot more to it for me personally. I feel like it's a whole lot more. It's almost like driving down a regular road. I would compare to like talking to people how we're talking now. But then for me personally, when I sit at my ancestral shrine and I come there with intentions, I feel like that's more like driving down a highway, like kind of like the Autobahn over there in Europe where they driving 100 something miles an hour. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel like it is kind of like for me personally when I'm dealing with and trying to communicate with spirit at my ancestral shrine. and it's powerful. So it's like, but everybody has their own way. Everybody has their own path. Everybody has their own thing that works for them. And Baba, you are the epitome of that, the way your process for Ifa and Isheshe is compared to many other people who I've learned from, or many other books that I've read, or many other Babalaos, Iyanifas, or priests, Baba Orishas, Orishas, etc., that I've communicated with. You have an outcasted approach that not necessarily you were outcasted, but I feel like you casted yourself out of the norm, outside of the box of what other people conform to. And I love that because it gives me personally, and I know for sure, probably the vast majority of all your other students and mentees, it gives us a sense of freedom to know that as long as we're doing what we're doing with good intentions and we're doing it for the right reasons, that it's an acceptable way for us to be on our spiritual journey. So I would share that with Karaday Nation in regards to, what I was getting into that last show with the significance of sitting and meditating in the ancestral shrine.
The power of your statement is everlasting in terms of it's resonating, because to him there was a time that I used to feel as though if I think about something hard enough, it's going to come out in divination. And sure enough, okay. And then it became, well, it was like, I can do this because it's all a matter of will and divine inspiration, if you will. So yeah, those telepathic moments, we're gifted with it.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're not the only ones. People have been talking about it for days and forever. Okay. And there's people who become prophets as a result. There's people who become priests as a result. There's people who have become,
mediums.
Yeah.
Healers. Okay.
And so the power and importance is that we are links in the chain.
Yes, that's it.
Now, and that's part of the freedom that you spoke of, because see, we can be free to be that link in the chain. There's no one stopping us from saying, I think I got a little something special right here. Let me see how I can best serve the world, my people, and myself, in terms of enhancing this life experience. So I think that the more of us who get together under Ashe, under Karaday Nation, under this Benin wall that we're building with 5 or 6 different cities inside of the wall, and everyone is obviously getting along. Everyone is obviously sharing in what the ultimate goal is, to coexist and to reflect the greatness of one another. We are rebuilding the Benin wall telepathically. And that's not supernatural. That is naturally natural. That's the nature of our existence. Other people call it super, but we're like, yo, this is what we do. Like you were sharing with me about the vegan pizza, and I was talking to you about the book. It was like, this is what we do. Everybody else see it as something special, and yo, man, we just woke up with this morning, okay, and this is how we roll, But there's one thing that I'm going to lead into the next podcast with, and that is the belief in the afterlife.
That's a good one.
Ancestral shrine that triggered that. I didn't get the opportunity to speak on what do we actually believe happens to us after this physical is no longer. Just like you were talking about going to the ancestral shrine, I would like envisioning why people go to grave sites. We're going to talk about this. And then we'll start to look at dues like Erosion and start to see where we are in what we believe for all of our ritualization and reverence and worship. What do we believe happens once we transition? But stay tuned, good people. Stay tuned.
Listen, because I know we're running tonight, boy. We're running. We're going knocking on 3 hours, man. But listen, so we still got a full house there. We got, I think, like 25 something people in here so far.
All right, it's all good.
But I'm gonna say this real quick to that, and then we definitely get all the way into it. And then I got one more question from Nkosi that I want to give to you because he put it up a while ago, but I didn't want to interrupt thoughts.
Okay.
So
Understood.
with what you just said, now we playing ping pong out here. I want to give a shout out to Forbidden Knowledge and Brother Rich, because I check out both of they channels and podcasts, and they've been doing this work for a minute, but they be dropping heat. But anywho, one of their shows I was watching not too long ago, they brought up a very powerful point in regards to death and transitioning and transformation. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of something that you and I spoke about in one of our podcasts, which was before this one that they had. Mm-hmm. Similar subjects and topics, but not exactly the same, but I feel like they matter and they match. So what we spoke about, you asked me on one of our podcasts to look up how much space is inside the human body. Yes. You remember that one?
Yes, okay. I do.
So we went into that. I looked it up. We went into it. I'll have to find the show and link that for the tribe, so that way. But if anybody wants to check it out. But anywho, when I was watching their show, they spoke about how when people transition, and this is documented, and you can do your due diligence and research too, because I looked it up too. But they talk about how when people transition, immediately after the actual last breaths are taken and that person is considered to be quote unquote dead, deceased, the physical body, right? How the body loses weight. So for example, if the person was in the hospital and they were sick or whatever the case may be, they weighed 250 pounds. Okay. Well, at the time prior to their death, they were 250 pounds. But after the death, it is said, and it has been proven, that the body, by the time the coroner actually gives or writes off on the death certificate, that the body is a few ounces or several ounces or so, that weighs less by several ounces. There's a different little chart. I forgot. I think it could be as low as maybe, I don't remember, 5 or 6 ounces, as high as maybe like 9, 10, 12 ounces. So I can't remember the exact numbers, but I do know that it was dope, because the question then was, so what was the extra weight? Where are those extra ounces? Is that considered the spiritual soul self that now has, since there's no more breath coming in and out, there's no more spirit coming in and out, there's no more soul that's inside, and because that turned to the cosmos and
I get it,
it came. So that's something we could definitely, go deep in with that next podcast. I'm looking forward to that, because I remember hearing like, that was deep, and I meant to bring it up to you a while back, but I forgot. But something like you said triggered it.
Everything's right on time, and I'm going to include that with near-death experiences. Right, so that's all on the next podcast, and how we look at it from our internal eternalness, directly connected with our ancestral bearing. Because if people are noticing it now, they noticed it way back then. And it's like, okay, what happens as opposed to what we've been told what happens? So let's try to figure it out on our own, and hold this information as part of the pieces, if you will, that comprise the puzzle of what we actually believe in, and how we actually wish to be buried, and where do we actually wish to be buried. So all of this comes into play when we have a belief system that empowers us. But I don't want to start talking about it too much, because it'd be like
because we gotta wrap it up. No, listen,
cliffhanger. Everybody, stay tuned for the next podcast.
Yes, sir.
With the classes.
Yes, sir.
And books, and because I speak on this in Global Perspective books.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it's all there, but it needs to be expounded upon. It needs to be delivered. The word needs to be delivered. The little babies in everybody's ear need to hear it, so that we grow through life and through afterlife.
Well, Baba, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna throw in Kosi's comment in there, so that way before we get out of here. He said, Baba Carter, can you further explain what you mean by a matter of will? And this is from earlier, though.
A matter of willpower, a matter of conscious effort, a matter of bringing something into being by the effort of one's Ori, the Shah of Orisha. Okay. And by stating with some focus and some determination, some concentrated, again, focus on the achievement of a goal. That is the power of will, the will power to bring about a change, and that change becomes transformational. People can change, but that doesn't mean that it's a transformational change. People can change for the worse. People can make minuscule changes of environments, but still remain who they are. They can go into another relationship. But as we say, they haven't left the baggage at the door. They bring in the baggage in, bag lady, as Erica Badu might say. You still going around with your bag. You haven't exercised the will to leave it. It is to leave it where it is. So that's what I mean by the matter of will, because will changes matter. Will has the power to change matter, and that's not a belief. That's a focused fact that you can will yourself to do something that you may have never even considered doing, that you may have been on the can't side of possibilities, until you grit yourself and say, I'm going to do this. I don't care what happens. I'm going to make it happen. That's the matter of will power. And in closing, we can have the power to exercise our will to enhance our spirit and commune with the spirit of the Orisha, because Orisha aren't spirits, but Orisha have spirits. We aren't spirits, but we have spirits. Okay. And when we become spiritual, the spiritual essence now becomes a governing part of our existence. And that governing part of our existence connects with the spirit of the Orisha. That's why there's no one way to worship the Orisha. There's no set way to be so rigid based on some authoritarian dictation, that the spirit of the union of the spirit of self with the spirit of the Orisha is practically unknown. It's not fostered, it's not nurtured. Making elbows does not nurture the spirit of the Orisha. I don't care what anybody say. The Orisha are not bloodthirsty like that. There are other elements that go into Ebo Ejes, like communal feasting. But to just say, I'm spiritually doing a Ebo Ejes, be specifically, that's not what spiritually feeds the Orisha. I've learned this through phase one of the foundations, that the Orisha come to me and say, look, we are spiritual, just like you are. We are encasements within this certain realm, but if you want to be spiritually strengthened by us, then relate to us with your spirits.
Sure.
Relate to us with your spirits, so that we're all spiritually connected. And I am in you, and you
All
are
right.
in.
Ashe. Ashe. Oh. And right on time. Sound goes as you're saying that. He said that. And,
Oh, sound good. So,
that's the second time that happened today, by the way, because me and Karaday Nation Ifi Sagoon I was saying something and he was typing it, and
okay.
his message popped up. I was saying it. It was like, right, matter of fact, look, I'm gonna share that one too, because he was literally just saying the same thing. That's how spirit work, though, man, for real. But real quick too, before we get out of here, Baba, I wanted to do something. Just in true Ashe form and fashion. Shout out to everybody who is a supporter, who's been rocking with us, whether you're new from the day ones, all the way to the people who signed up today or yesterday or subscribed today or yesterday. I appreciate every single one of y'all. For those of y'all who are not on the live that'll see this, on the replay, we appreciate y'all. Y'all helped push us to. We had a Divine Day on Friday. We hit over 100,000, total views for the channel, which was on 11/20/22, which was 11 days after the my third Orisha birthday, and it was just like those 11s came in, you know what I mean? And then we made that milestone. So shout out to y'all for rocking with us and supporting, and the likes, the shares, the subscribes, all that. We appreciate y'all. And then shout out to our our community members. Shout out to brother Nkosi, who's been rocking with us for a minute now with the VIP membership. Shout out to Queen Liquid Waters, who's been rocking with us. Shout out to K Nix, who's part of the community. Shout out to Adeyele Bennett, who's part of the tribe. Shout out to Adana for joining the tribe. And shout out to our newest member, Healthy Lifestyles for You. Shout out to all y'all. We appreciate y'all. We got a whole lot in store for y'all, and I can't wait, man. So it's definitely going down. Baba and I are definitely putting together the next class, which we'll share that date this week for sure, once we get it locked in with the schedule. And then I got several other presentations that I'll be sharing in the membership as well, just to pour in. We want to over deliver and under promise, and that's what the goal is for the whole entire movement of Ashe. So I appreciate y'all. Yes, sir.
Could you put up the www.
Yes, Temple of the Mystic Path.
Because I did see some people say something about they were going to get books or whatever. So, just to have it up. Did not mean to interrupt. Seemed like you had finished.
Nah, you good, Baba. One more. I'm about to post it now. And then also, I had a couple of people that left comments that I wanted to highlight too, real quick before we get out of here. But let me,
it just crossed my mind, brother. That's all.
No, it's all good. Matter of fact, one of our new members, Adana, I think she probably bought the Global Perspective this week because I sent her the link for her to grab that because she wanted to grab it to watch the first session that we did last Sunday.
Oh, okay, beautiful.
Yeah, so shout out to her, for grabbing hers, and everybody else who's supporting your work.
She the one who had the fire signs after I saw somebody said Global Perspectives, and then they had
that was Nkosi. He was just saying that it was dope. Like it was pretty much. Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you, Nkosi. All right.
Yeah. And so there's the website for the Temple of the Mystic Path, y'all. Baba has the let me see. He has on that website Elder Reflections Book 1, Elder Reflections Book 2, Imoye, the Ifa Orisha Religious Traditions, A New Global Perspective, Souls of Myrrh, and also A Place of Nights. And then on Amazon, we have
Imoye.
Oh, yes, right. Imoye. I think I said Imoye.
No, that's all right. Either way.
But yeah, Imoye, and then also excuse me, I'll have the links on the actual description of the show for the handbook, which is on Amazon, as well as OGC, which is on Amazon. So all the links will be in the description of not just the live stream, but also the when I upload the actual episode, family. So we'll definitely see that. Y'all will definitely see that there. And then we appreciate the love, family. Sound goes, everybody, giving thanks. Bye bye. Oh, and real quick, we did get the Ashe merch store up too, man. So we got some Ashe hoodies, Ashe Scullies, Ashe t-shirts, and I got a whole lot more that I
got two. Don't tell them I already ordered mine, so I'm not playing. All right.
Appreciate you, Baba. I appreciate you. Yes,
I
sir.
saw it up and I jumped on it so quick. It was like, what? They got an order already? Yeah, I'm not only a supporter, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I appreciate it for real. I appreciate it. So look, I'm waiting on mine to get here too, it got a little cool down here this weekend. I could have had my hoodie on today, man, messing around, and got a little nippy out there, but so we got that, and I got a lot of other products that I'll be throwing out there, family. I just want to kind of get the main brand out there first, and then I'll throw all the other shirts and logos, the Orisha t-shirts. We got a lot going on. Black Panther Fist t-shirts, hoodies, you name it. We got a lot coming, so I definitely look forward to sharing that with the tribe. And then also for the community, right now we're going to be on YouTube, at least for, I'll say, foreseeable future for the next month or so. I'm trying to figure out between Patreon and another platform that I'm working on. The other platform that I won't name, it has listed a lot of powerful features, but right now I'm still kind of trying to fill it out to see if it's actually delivering what it's been led that it should deliver. And right now I'm not seeing it, so I got to make sure that I make that concrete decision of which platform is the best before I switch it, from the YouTube platform, which I'm not sure if I will completely switch it out. But either way, we'll keep y'all posted, family. And the link is in the show description at the top of the channel on laptops. I think there's a little bit of an issue with it on mobile phones, so if you do want to subscribe from the channel, I believe you may have to do it on a laptop. For some reason, I'm not sure why it's not showing up on the mobile devices for the membership.
All right, man, that's powerful, man. We almost at 248, man. We just broke a record.
Wow. 248 what?
2 hours and 48 minutes.
Oh yeah. We went in today, man. We definitely went in. We definitely
And the
went
people
in.
hanging in there, everybody still.
Yeah. We still got pretty much the same amount of people that have
That's
been riding with us. It comes, some come, some go, but it's definitely, Yeah, man. So yeah, we appreciate it. And then real quick, I wanted to highlight a couple of comments that was left on the channel because we really do appreciate all the love and support, family. So I want to make sure that we don't just talk about it. We is about it, we be about it, and we show about it. But this one right here was powerful, man. Shout out to Ballerina Witch, man. This Baba, she was referring to the sister who you shared the picture of last week on the I want to say it was the live stream about the art and Ifa and shit. But she said that the queen that just recently transitioned, she said her name was Michelle.
Jameson.
And, I'm sorry, yeah, Judith Jameson, and the photographer's name was Jack Michelle, who was definitely in the spirit while photographing the legendary Judith Jameson. Ibatu, I am very blessed to have cherished memories of time spent with this incredible queen. You all are amazing. Your acknowledgement of her makes my heart so full. Congratulations on the success of a fantastic channel. Thank you for the obedience and sharing what comes through you with the people. Baba Ifa Karade, I have to give you your flowers. Years and years and years ago, when I had no proper cultural context for the experiences I've had with the chakra activation, page 47 in your handbook gave me the information necessary to find peace in how I function within my own African birthright. Empowering behind measures. Dr. Fist, Baba Orisha Bemi, what you all do here is more important than words can express. Thank you. Please share how we can become VIP members and get access to the videos for the group. And for those who are not able to attend meetings in person, so we appreciate you at Ballerina Witch 8940. We truly do. And she's been riding with us from the beginning. So much love to you, Queen. We definitely appreciate the love and support as always. So I wanted to make sure that we actually highlighted that because I didn't get to respond to it in a timely manner because I had a lot going on this weekend. But as always, I like to show the love for those who show love to us. So we definitely appreciate you for sure.
That's nice. That's really nice. I do play ballerina. I remember her from back when we were doing just talking something about Obatala. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. One love. One
love.
Man.
So we want to definitely, get the comments and the love that they've been sharing with us. We want to throw it right back at y'all because that's why we do it. So we appreciate you, Healthy Lifestyle, Karate Nation. We appreciate all of y'all. And as usual and as always, family has been amazing once again. So y'all know the routine. Please like, share, subscribe. And we'll definitely see y'all on the next one. We definitely will be having some more this week. And as usual, I'll be uploading new episodes and I got some more heat coming for y'all. And for the community, I'm definitely working on something that I'll be sharing with y'all. Y'all will see it in I feel like more real time than before to get posted. But I'm working on a series of the 1804 Haitian Revolution because that's something that it's not talked about enough. And we need to know the significance in it from a psychological aspect, from an emotional aspect, from a spiritual aspect, even from an economic aspect of how significant that movement impacts us as a people, past, present, and future. So I'm going to do my best to highlight that work and really share it with our community, with our family, with our channel, and with our tribe. So with that, family, we definitely appreciate y'all. On the way out, please like, share, subscribe, and we will see y'all on the next episode. So with that, much love, much appreciation. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all in the next one. We out.
Peace.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and praise your